As new Pokemon arrive to Pokemon Sword and Shield, we have the wonderful job of judging those and really looking into the ideas Game Freak chose to put into the games. There aren't too many Pokemon and they've all been pretty much revealed, but to start off this journey into the newly released first expansion for Sword and Shield with the Isle of Armor, let's see who are the best new Pokemon to grace the Galar region with the new way they are presented in the expansion and the tidbits of new things they are given here to really show us how much they excite us in terms of how good they look to be now that we can see them in the expansion. Welcome to the top 5 best new Pokemon in the Sword and Shield expansion, Isle of Armor Edition.
Let's go!
Ciruit's technically not even released in the game yet, so let's just slap that right off the list. But sure, let's talk about it a little to introduce the topic, as some stats have been shown, and I have seen a few Ciruit fans who'd like an update. While Ciruit does take on a new type of style to mythical Pokemon and create a different feeling than we're used to, the monkey does leave a little bit more to be desired and might need some added storied quests to really make it a Pokemon that can shine in the darkness of its own typing. You know, moves like Throat Chop really look like its kind of thing, or one that suits it. Which you can say is a good thing, as that's a pretty strong move that can be integrated well into it, but the fact that I look at this Pokemon and think, you know, Throat Chop just sounds perfect for those hands, is not the best compliment to be given. Right now, Cerebi says its stats go up to a base total of 600, which is a very nice round number. It's supposedly got 105 speed, 105 defense, and 105 HP, while its prioritized stat is its 120 base attack, suiting its more physical looking traits to be the attack-focused Pokemon, while having the ability Leaf Guard to prevent the Pokemon from being afflicted by status conditions during the strong sunlight. Overall, it's a pretty well-rounded Pokemon, and its Jungle Healing special move that it learns at level 90 can really help out in battles and be a well-utilized setup for max raids. Ciruit's a nice Pokemon to be added in as a mythical present and could be fun to use whenever it's released, but still design-wise it might not make it to the top of this list even if it was included in the Isle of Armor, and would probably be like 4th out of 5 at best. Maybe. Number 5. Glacial Slowpoke. Glacial Slowpoke is a Pokemon that was released early on for you all to bask in its wonderful glory of removing its water typing, leading to a slightly drier scalp. With Glacial Slowbro now being able to be obtained, I thought Glacial Slowpoke deserved a spot at the bottom of this list. Glacial Slowpoke does manage to come in with its new, and I wouldn't say improved, but at least their new look. You know, a little yellow hat with its tail being lemoned up might not be the biggest change. It is colored in spots to show those favorable areas that Shellder is used to clamping on, but it's not the most adjusted Pokemon for a new regional form, and overall doesn't have the most shine. Its shiny, however, does push it up a lot, as the complete transformation into a lemon is great, and a better version of original Slowpoke's shiny form. The difference in greatness between the changes in the Galarian forms of Slowpoke and Slowbro are, well, you can see why it's at number 5. The best part about having Glacial Slowpoke in the expansion is being able to journey with it, seeing its evolution in the rival trainer's pouch, and knowing you can traverse throughout the new region to find yourself a way to train up this little pal to get its new regional evolution. That's a real journey. It does have the exact same stats as regular Slowpoke, and none of that changes until it evolves, so very little was tweaked onto Glacial Slowpoke. But as a new Pokemon to start with, and travel alongside and train up in those new battles, and being able to grow with one until you can find those 8 Galarian twigs and give them to the NPC on the isle next to the Hexagon tree, and have those be turned into a Galarica cuff that you can use on it to see it evolve, is a nice new addition to the new games. Number 4. Glacial Slowbro. Following Glacial Slowpoke, we do have Glacial Slowbro. Really, this and the next two are pretty close in terms of how good they are in the games and how well adjusted they are, but unfortunately Glacial Slowbro just lacks that story element that pushes the other two ahead, and maybe misses out on a number 3 or number 2 spot by about a decimal. Glacial Slowbro does bring in a pretty calming form. I imagine the style would be contrasted as a more physical looking Pokemon to the more magical, soon to be released Galarian Slowking. So sort of like the two different styles of Urshifu, or Warriors and Wizards. As it is the only new regional Pokemon form, it still does get some story time, at least in terms of having to quest for items and having those weave together for its evolution method, as well as making it a signature Pokemon for both of them. But on its own, Glacial Slowbro does have a good amount of charm, and even a greatly colorized shiny version that takes the brightness of Slowpoke and shimmers it down a little bit to be more formal. Its stats look nicely aligned with that same classic slow speed and a lot more offensive physical power to match its current special attack that it kept from its old form. The defense drops a little bit for that, so that might not be the best change for this type of Pokemon with how slow it is, but altogether it is nicely designed and the choices fit. The hand cannon and its Super Soaker move does give a lot of love to this chunky fellow, and the newly introduced typing of a Poison Psychic type is nicer to see and would bring it to the top spot of a typing comparison with the rest of these Pokemon. With that, Galarian Slowbro manages to be great on its own, but also has a nice stylistic change from the regular Slowbro to be a high tier regional form. Number 3. Urshifu. Another comparison between the two forms starts up because I swear I can't consistently keep a favorite for these two Pokemon. Sure, maybe you can say that it's because I don't think these are the greatest legendary Pokemon evolutions and that there didn't really need to be two forms that look pretty similar to each other, which might have taken away a bit of that special feeling. Seeing the two Urshifu in the game is a lot different than seeing them in the trailers and how they look before they're released. So with that knowledge, my appreciation for the water fighting Urshifu managed to go up quite a bit, leaving the dark fighting Urshifu single striking at number 3. You would think that a Pokemon that comes from the Tower of Darkness would prevail over a Pokemon that comes from something called the Tower of Waters, but the fighting dark type falls behind as I decided to compare the two, and I've seen 6 different streams and they've all got the water fighting ones too, so that pretty much confirms that I'm right. The design of Urshifu in either style looks good, but water and fighting types together feel a little bit more unique and underutilized, especially with the fighting type being focused and the water added in. Fighting Dark, however, does happen to fit the base design a little bit more, and that angry look in its new Gigantamax form, along with its fierce glow in the new signature move, allows it to really push the traits of Dark Fighting to a new level. But the constant complaints of it being 4 times weak to Fairy types and taking it out does hinder it a little bit. Luckily for it, Fairy type Galarian Dustox never came to be. The two forms do still look pretty similar, but getting to go through both towers and seeing Mustard tear off his clothes to fight against another Cub Fuu really sparks up a dojo training montage for a legendary level up, and regardless of who you choose, it's a great quest to obtain a legendary Pokemon. Number 2. The other Urshifu. Continuing along the trail, we've got the Rapid Strike Urshifu. I think I've gotten more zen over the days, and the only thing to really compare between the two styles is their demeanor, and the little intricacies like different Gigantamax forms, different signature moves, types, and like I said, the water fighting type does feel like a unique combination to integrate into each other, focusing more on a kind of fighting style rather than just a brawl-heavy water-looking Pokemon. The signature move for each is also a nice boost. Both have great looks, the angering dark type and its angering aura as it angrily punches the opponent angrily, and the multiple hits with Bubble Burst that Water Boy has. Multi-move animations are fun, but overall that cleansing aura and the one with nature vibe that Rapid Strike Urshifu does manage to pull off pushes it up in the tiers of ranking for me. The great part about these two is the different towers you're able to fight your way through to achieve these evolutions. It is sort of an expansion that adds only a few quests, but being able to have your little cub go up the flights of stairs, fighting trainer after trainer to get yourself to the final boss, Mustard, and seeing that little fighter evolve after the trials is a fun, satisfying achievement to get when you finally take down the challenge of the Isle of Armor. Both towers are pretty similar, and generally speaking it doesn't change much of the looks of either form, but that Rapid Strike form just manages to look so soothingly calm in different ways, which is really appealing. I still would have liked to see some major differences in their looks, maybe take some of the colors from the Gigantamax forms and put those in a little bit, or even change up the physique of each a little more than just the heads, but overall the calm before the storm manages to jump one spot ahead of the angered Naruto punching fighter, and takes on the second spot as the best new Pokemon in the expansion. Number 1. Cub Fuu. There's almost no way I couldn't give the spotlight to the little bear who started it all. In terms of strength, its evolutions shine in that regard. Both with a base total of 550, and the same stats for each with a nice chunk of 130 attack, while Cub Fuu brings in a commendable stat line base of 385, and a nice 90 attack at that, and a respectable 72 speed for how tiny it is. But in terms of getting people to buy the DLC, Cub Fuu's muscles are much more sore. I do love to see quests in the games where a special Pokemon is made as the main character and traverse alongside you, whether it's yours or just a little partner following you, wanting to be guided and eventually joining you. Having that bond with it where you have to progress along together really becomes something great to experience when you get to that final ending. Having it be this little bear Pokemon as one of the main characters and having 2 specific towers for it that you have to choose from to see what it can transform into is a real treat that a lot of Pokemon don't get. Also, it being the one that introduces Pokemon following you is a great asset too. The pure fighting type for it works out to be great, as having it add on a new one in its evolution as a badge for its training adds a nice touch in addition to its training warrior-like status. But above all, its cute tiny design of a ready-to-prove-itself Pokemon trying to accomplish things in life really sets it up as a nice main story expansion Pokemon of it aging with you through time. I personally think it's the best Pokemon to have as a legendary Pokemon that evolves with how it's done, while bringing a nice new entire quest to go on for it. It does have that mythical mystery gift quest type of feeling, and it adds its own legendary charm.